Hey everyone and welcome. We are Next Level Business Advisors and this is Business Stories of Success. If you want to break through and achieve your own business success by learning from other successful business owners, you're in the right channel. For more of our content, make sure you click subscribe and don't forget the bell icon so you're the first to be notified when new videos are added. Enjoy today's video.
Hello, hello, hello. You're with Marc Adams at Next Level Business Advisors, and we've got a treat for you. We have Dr. Larry Stanleigh from Calgary, Canada. Did I get it right?
Got it right.
You know, I'm a New Yorker at heart. I'm a New York boy. We don't see anything west of New York. We're pathetic. So glad to have you, Doc. How are you?
I'm happy to be here.
And I'm happy to have you. We were just chatting a little bit earlier, and you are incredibly interesting, starting with, hopefully you guys get to see your hats, your profile picture. I'm already jealous. I'm going to have to get me a hat like you because you're just so cool.
Well,
looking forward to chatting with you. So before we get going, because I end up talking too much, tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself and your business.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I really want to talk about is I'm a keynote speaker, mentor, trainer, coach. The topic that I talk about primarily is success is all about relationships, and we'll delve into that a little bit more. I'm also a general practice dentist. I've been practicing for 33 years here in Calgary. I have a practice that is 20% general practice, and 80% of what I do now is I examine, write medical reports, and then treat people who have had trauma. Mostly from car accidents, workplace accidents, victims of violence. So my referral sources are the police, personal injury lawyers, insurance companies, the Workers' Compensation Board. I am the Chief Technology Officer for Agility Guard, a sports performance mouthguard company based out of Toronto. We fit athletes and others with sports performance mouthguards using some really cool science and technology. Athletes that I've fitted have won 10 Olympic medals, including gold in Summer and Winter Olympics. I'm a writer, blogger. I'm the chief. I've already said that. I'm also the chief sponsor of the Stanley Cup, an award given to the high school improv comedy championships at the Lucy Theater here in Calgary. I'm the executive producer of the United States of North America, USNA. It's a graphic novel project here it's North America wide, and we're hoping to get this graphic novel produced into a movie and or a TV series. And
wow.
Yeah, so I've had a pretty eclectic existence. I'm a voice actor in a comedy podcast too.
Oh, so. Get out of here. So let me ask you a couple questions before we get deep then. So how big is your Stanley Cup?
Oh, well, the Stanley Cup that they Loose Moose Theater bought that I sponsored is about 3.5 feet high, and they wanted to get the biggest thing they could find.
Okay. And the winner carries it around for a year.
Yeah, I'm hoping that one day this Stanley Cup is more famous than the other one.
Oh, that would be saying something.
That would be saying something.
Yeah, now they're usually, and I say usually because it seems like it might be different for you, 24 hours in a day.
Yes.
But I'm imagining with all you doing, you're around 26, 27. How do you manage to do all these things?
I should live on Mars because their day is a little bit longer than ours. How do I manage to do all these things? Time management is an issue, and time is my biggest commodity.
Okay.
And, you find a way to prioritize and do what's got to be done, and it feeds my soul doing all these different things. It's
awesome.
Awesome. It is awesome.
So I'm going to do a little bit of bookkeeping too, because you mentioned that you do a lot of different things. So your primary business is the dental practice.
That's right.
And do you have like a website if someone wanted to find you or anything like that?
Well, if you wanted to,
how do you want to be found, Doc?
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, sure. There's two main websites worth noting. One is Dr. Larry, DRLARRY.net. That is my main page from which you can go to all the different things that I do. And then with regards to the stuff we're going to be talking about today, Dr. Larry Speaks. or drlarryspeaks.ca, depending on if you're Canada or elsewhere. And that's got the whole thing about my relationship lectures, coaching, mentoring. There's some great resources on there. If you sign up for the email there, you'll get a free resource about the relationship, the color wheel, the insights into communication that I do. And those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. And I like that you spelled it, because spelling is one of those funny things, so
Yes, it is.
Very nice. Now, let me ask you this. How long have you been in business?
Well, as a dentist, I've been in business. Well, first I was in the Canadian Forces, so I wasn't in business then. And then I worked for another dentist. So I've been in business as a dentist since 1994.
Oh, okay. So you've got some longevity there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, 94. Let's see. 94, I had just gotten married for the first time.
Nice.
I was just learning about life. So that's cool. That's cool.
So you got married when you were 12.
Yeah. Doc, your insight is just, yeah. I had just turned 12.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not even funny. Nowadays, no, that was just a joke.
I know, yeah.
So let's ask a couple of questions. And I'm going to ask you about your expertise, but now you're a dentist, so we know that you're an expert because you go to school for it. But you mentioned that you also do network teaching and things of that nature. Right. So what makes you an expert in that area, if you don't mind me asking it that specifically?
That's not a problem. When I first started my business as a dentist, people look at dentists and say, oh, they're rich and stuff like that. Overhead in dentistry is extremely high, about 80%. So for every dollar you bring in, 80 cents goes out as expenses. And we really need to watch both sides of the equation, the income and the revenue and the expenses. And that's why having a great accountant really makes a difference for us, because profit and loss statement and having great guys like you, great people like you, I should say, because there's great women in accounting as well, and financial management, and listen to them and really look at both sides of the equation, because too many times we get hooked into spending way too much money on marketing, which isn't producing revenue results, and way too little time looking at the expense side of the equation. And so I was doing well. I bought a practice that was thriving and busy. I bought it from a guy named Roy Rasmussen, who had retired after 44 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he started his practice on Friday the 13th in June of 1950 and sold it to me on Friday the 13th of May in 1994, 44 years later. So something about Friday the 13th is a good thing.
Okay.
But a couple of years in, I bought the practice. I paid top dollar for it, but it was worth it. But I'm just getting by. I'm not seeing me moving ahead financially, paying down debt as quickly as I should be, and stuff like that. And a good friend of mine had just started a coaching business, and he knows me well, and he says, you really need to look at how you're communicating, how you're communicating with your team, how they're communicating with each other, how they're communicating with the patients. And he introduced me into a process called Insights into Communication, which is a process that utilizes the work of Hippocrates 2,500 years ago, and then brought up to date by Carl Jung and William Marsden in the 1920s, from which personality testing has been based on ever since then, the last 100 years.
Okay. And
there's a really simple tool that you can use to divide people into sort of 4 categories. We often talk about type A and type B personalities,
right.
which is very simplified and doesn't really address the larger population. And so by getting to know people in a little bit broader way, we can customize what we say to them. We can customize how we talk to them. Okay. And then we find our practice or our business more successful.
Okay.
And that's where it started. I've been practicing those aspects of what I do ever since 1994, and that transformed everything that I've done. Nice. And now I'm taking that and helping other people transform their businesses as well, small and large.
Nice. So it's so interesting when we talk to people. I speak to a lot of different industries, but I kind of seem to sit in some very similar ones, dental practitioners for some reason. I work with a lot of them just generally. When I started doing bookkeeping years ago, dentists, you know, a little bit of taxes with them, advisory work, because I love, you know, dentists are very interesting set of individuals. And I find that they're always so busy. It's just the hardest part is just pinning them down, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I deal with a lot of dentists in that area. I also deal with a lot of other business advisors when I'm podcasting, when I'm doing interviews. And so it's interesting to look at the different angles that we take to help businesses grow or prosper, right? And so you've taken one that's a little bit unique from what I've talked to thus far, and that you focus on that personality side.
Absolutely.
Right? I like that. I like it. It's so interesting to see how each person attacks this nut to help somebody to be successful. Right.
Yeah.
So I like that. And you've been doing it for a lot of years, which
I have. And in fact, you know, dentistry, and I learned this early, dentistry is just a small business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, it's a personal service business that we happen to provide a healthcare service. But just like a hair salon or real estate or retail clothing or accounting, it's still a small business, and all the basic small business principles apply.
Absolutely.
Just what I do is different. You know,
Absolutely.
I don't crunch numbers. I don't sell clothes. I don't do hair. I don't have any hair to do. But for those who are seeing this on YouTube,
we're in competition, Doc.
There you go.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Brothers from another mother. There you go.
There you go. It's interesting too that you say that, because one year I was working with, and you might have, we'll talk about it too. You might have had other coaches. I've had business. I constantly have a business coach. I think coaches can be coached. So one of my coaches, when talking about dentists, he said, "What's the difference between an $80,000 a year dentist and a $2 million a year dentist? Is it his dentistry skills? Not necessarily. It's how he manages his business." And that principle applies to all businesses, right?
Absolutely.
There's some accountants who make $50,000 a year and they can't break over that. And there's some who make $5 million. So it's how you manage your business. And we're trying to look at that and improve that process. So that's interesting that you make that statement about the dentistry. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about that, about the 80,000 versus the 5 million. How do you define success?
That's a good one. You know, listening to your podcast in your podcast episode 0, where you start talking about yourself, you talked about how your definition of success at the time was being able to reduce your work week to 4 days a week, and that was success. Yeah. And then Latoya in episode 1 talked about success being getting through the first year of business. Success, and you did mention it in a later episode, success is a journey. Success is not a destination. You need to, there's a saying that no wind blows in favor of a ship that has no port of destination. If you don't know where you're going, you're going to get there because you're going nowhere. So it really is a journey. And when I do my keynote talk about, which is titled "Success is All About Relationships," I talk about how do we define success, and I tell some stories. And we define success often about having a lot of money or a big home or a large family, or success defeating an enemy in war and stuff like that. But ultimately, success is having what you want. So you need to figure out what is it that you want, and then map the steps to get there. And you know how you want to climb a mountain, you get to the top of that hill and you look out and my goodness, look how much there is beyond. And now all of a sudden you've got new goals. And that's the part of it. If you're always growing, you're going to stay engaged in what you do. And I had a coach a long time ago, a mentor, actually not a coach, a mentor, who said, Larry, you want to spend 10% of your time outside your envelope of comfort. Okay. If you spend more than 10% of your time, you're going to get into trouble. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get into trouble. Something bad's going to happen. But if you spend less than 10% of your time, then you're going to get stagnant. You're not going to grow, and you're going to find a way to exit out of that business and do something else because you're bored or you're not interested or something like that. It was great advice, and I've always trying to stay engaged and stuff. When you look at the people who we would think of as most successful, like the Warren Buffetts of the world, he's 89 years old and still working full time. He's got all the money in the world. He's the second richest man in the world. He still works full time because he's engaged, he's interested in stuff like that. So I don't see myself retiring as long as I'm healthy. So you have to look after yourself too.
Absolutely. So now you might notice, if you're listening, you don't notice my big eyes. My eyes are huge. And you might be saying, boy, Marc's eyes keep dropping, because I do this when I'm podcasting, when I'm talking to people. I have a notepad in front of me. And when they start dropping
got notes
gems,
in front of me too.
when they drop gems, I start writing it down. And you drop 3 gems that I want to just say it one more time, because I think it's amazing. You said no wind blows in favor of a ship with no destination. Is that right?
That's right. With no port of destination.
With no port. That is profound, right? And so when we're thinking about success, if we don't have something concrete, this is what I think success is, then you'll never get there. And you also said success is having what you want. That is, Doc, I'm a little jealous. That might be the best explanation of success I've heard. It's a journey. This is that, but it really is just, what do you want? If you get what you want, you're successful.
Yeah.
And I really, really appreciate that. And I want you to reiterate one more time, if you don't mind. You talked about that 10% of your time being spent in
outside so you want to spend 10% of your time outside your envelope of comfort.
Outside your envelope of comfort. You know why I like that? Because you said that when you do more than that, you kind of lose interest and lose a job, right?
Well, if you make mistakes, if you go out way outside the realm of what you can do, that's when you make mistakes. Sometimes you got to take a bold risk, but you got to be very careful when you do. Those who are taking bold risks all the time eventually crash. They're in big trouble.
Right. I mean, that's just profound. I love that. I tell people this all the time, and I'm going to tell you the same thing. I'm going to be stealing that. I'm just going to let you know.
I'm here to share.
That is brilliant. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. So, and based on what you've explained to me, I know I can answer the question already. Do you consider yourself successful?
Well, yes and no.
Oh, okay. You're going to throw me a curveball, Doc.
So, I made a note about this, and I said, by external measures, people would look at me and say, oh, Larry, you're successful. But internally, I'm still not satisfied. I've still got things I want to do. I'm still growing. I'm still engaged. I'm still changing people's lives.
Okay.
In fact, in my logo, which has that profile picture with the hat that you saw, my motto my slogan, I should say, is building smiles and changing lives.
Okay, I like that.
And that applies to anything that I'm doing and everything that I'm doing, because it's not just about dentistry.
Right.
And so as long as I'm still relevant, I'm growing. And so I guess for me, my ultimate goal for success would be to have enough cash that I could stop working tomorrow and I wouldn't have to worry about money for the rest of the days. Now, I haven't reached that level of financial comfort. So I'm going to keep working until I do. But even if I did, I would still be pursuing other things. I've got books I want to write, and there's travel that I want to do, and there's lots. So by external measures, people would say, yeah, you're a success. But internally, I'm not satisfied yet.
You're not satisfied. Yeah, it's interesting because you said, and it takes me back to the analogy of climbing that mountain. And in fact, my podcast covers a guy on top of a mountain, and he's got his little briefcase up in the air, and that's successful. But when you get to the top of the mountain, there's a whole nother world out there, right?
Sure.
But you're successful, right? Because you got to the top of the mountain. I recently started working out again because I was getting as fat as a pig. And I have this iPit program, and they have like the trainers. And so it's like I'm on these destinations. And I just finished going to St. Lucia while I was in New Jersey. It's pretty interesting. And they had me climb to the top of the Tetons, They were like, this is the Grand Teton. I've never been there, So they take you to the top, and I get to the top of the Grand Teton. I'm sweating like a pig. I'm breathing hard. And I was successful. You know, I was successful. And then they said, now
Made
look
it.
at this view. I was successful because I didn't pass out and die in the basement. You know? but like you just said, although I did it, I didn't say, okay, I've got success. I'm going to stop. I'll never do it again. We still have things we want to accomplish. Warren Buffett still works. That's a very amazing analogy.
Yeah.
So awesome. Thanks for sharing that regarding what you consider success, and that success, like we said, it is a journey. It doesn't just stop. Let me ask you this question. Since you had a lot of different business ventures, and I'm sure you've probably done this before, what is one big mistake that you might have made in your business life, your business journey?
I find that when people are making mistakes, they're focused on one thing or another and not on the total picture. They're either focused on their income or they're focused on their expense, and not both sides of the equation.
Okay.
And I know that when I've run into issues, that's what it was. When I've really dug down deep and realized what it is, you get so focused on the one thing that it takes you away from the bigger picture, and then you miss it. And sometimes it takes my partners, my accountants or my lawyers or my financial advisors or my coach or all these people who I trust to keep me going where I need to go, to point out what I'm missing.
Nice.
That's why I surround myself with a team of people to help. Not just my assistants, my clinical workers, but all these other advisors who are as committed to my success as I am. Because if I'm not successful, then they don't get my business.
Yeah. I like that. You know, it's funny because one of my clients, he's a doctor, and he says the same thing. He says, you know, I have a team, and he believes in that team. And he said, you know, I'm fortunate. I feel fortunate to be part of that team because he's also an amazing, it's funny when we advise people, and you probably feel the same way. You advise somebody, so they're your client, and and I'm here and I'm giving them advice. But more often than not, I'm more impressed with what they're doing than what I'm doing. Like I feel privileged to even be a part of the team, you know, and you probably feel the same way, right? It's awesome to be part of some of these teams.
Yeah. And they are team members. They're not employees.
Right.
We work together. We ultimately want to be successful.
Yes, absolutely.
And the women who work for me, and they're all women, which is why I say that, because there are men in the dental field, but all the people I'm working with, including other dentists, are all women right now. The women who work with me, the ones that are being paid because of the work that I get to do, they have families to support, and so they're all committed to all of us being successful.
And that's really cool. And I really appreciate that. I've been doing this for a little bit now, and most of the successful folks have figured out that they need a team. And it helps you, like you just mentioned, avoid the mistakes, or at least learn from the mistake, right? You might make a mistake, am I right? And then your advisor says, or your accountant says, or your lawyer says, this is where you went wrong. Okay, duly noted. So to avoid that next time, now we can plan and strategize. So is that how you typically overcome or avoid future mistakes?
Well, I've gotten to the point that I don't find I'm making a lot of those mistakes now.
Right, you've got some years, so
you know, we create a vision, and we create short-term and long-term goals. And when we achieve the success of the short-term goals, we celebrate the small victories.
Okay.
We have regular meetings with the team members, both the external people who help me and my internal team members, which I meet with more frequently, to make sure we're on track. Where are we? Where are we going? How are we getting there? Are we on track to get there? And sometimes, you know, life happens. And when life happens and you hit a roadblock, you find your way around it. And often, if you don't see the way around it, somebody else will, and you just ask the right questions.
That's right. That's true. That's awesome. Let me ask you, what do you think is what do you think is the biggest single most important quality? See how I made that extra grad? Biggest single most important quality to be a successful business owner?
For me, success is all about relationships. It's the relationships. It's the people that I work with, and it all comes down to communicating with them and stuff. And in fact, Roger Levan is a dentist and a coach. He's got a dental practice management company, and that's really focused on dentistry. But one of the things he taught me was what we call the golden 10. If you get to know 8 to 10 things about the person you're dealing with, you transform the relationship from a professional one into a personal one. And if it becomes a personal relationship, then they start to like you. And if they like you, they will trust you. And if they trust you, they will accept what you recommend for them. They will, whether it's a car or clothes or dentistry or whatever, the relationship changes. And in fact, one of my favorite sayings, once you get past that, is a couple of things. First, people will forget what you said to them, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
That is so true. So true.
And because people trust people they like, so they got to like you. If they don't like you, they're going to take their business elsewhere. And then the other thing is the degree of your success depends on the quality of your relationships.
Oh, Doc, I'm sorry. I have to write this one down too. I'm sorry.
I'll say it again while you're writing it, because people listen to this. The degree of your success depends on the quality of your relationships, because building relationships takes the need for sales away.
I love it. I love it. You know, when I know it resonates, when I think about how it applies in my personal business, or how I see it work with my other clients. I think, when I hear something, we always do that. We try to associate what we're hearing with what we've experienced. And so experience makes something ring true, right? So I'm thinking I've been in business for almost 20 years. And in the beginning, I was okay. I mean, I've always stayed chunky, which is a problem. But anyway, I've always stayed chunky. But I didn't really have that thing where I was like really feeling the business was doing well until I got just enough money to start firing the people I didn't like. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, every client I have loves me and I love them, because if I don't love them, I don't work with them. It's not worth it. And success happens organically because of that. So the degree of the success is based on the quality. Oh, Doc, I'm sorry. I cut you off. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Continue.
Yeah. No, that. And so really what you said, so what is it that makes it successful? It's the relationships. You build those, you got the right team of people working with you and for you. And you take the time to get to know your clients. You build those relationships and you got a long-term business. You don't have to spend a ton of money on advertising and marketing. In the case for me, a lot of small business, social media is cheap, it's inexpensive, and social media is really, some people use it to gain new clients. I find it's great to maintain the relationships with your existing clients, because the vast majority of new clients don't come from external marketing. They come from referrals from people who already know you.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
Get to know your clients, develop a relationship with them, and maintain that relationship by staying in touch with them when they're not in your business, through social media. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, they're all useful. And I reach different groups with different social media outlets.
Nice.
I'm not into TikTok. I'm not into
I haven't even
the other ones where the conversation is gone. Like if it can't be archived, if people can't go back and see it again in the future, then that's for my teenage girls, but not for me.
I got you. Awesome. Let me ask you this, and you've given some great advice. I don't know if this is going to be slightly different. What advice would you give to a brand new business owner then? Like, you've given us a lot of different things. Is one of those things you'd say to a brand new business owner, or would you give them something different? You're brand new.
Oh, no, that applies across the board to beginners and to finishers. But for a brand new business owner, this is also really it's important. Everybody, but for a new business owner, find someone who's doing what you're doing that's more successful. Because no matter what you're doing, somebody else has already done it and they're successful at it. Find who that person is and copy what they're doing.
Nice.
And reach out to them even if they don't know you, reach out to them and ask them what made them successful. And the truly successful people are happy to share. They don't
They
look
don't
at you
mind
as
sharing.
competition. They know they're successful, and they're not worried. I'm not worried about the dentist who works next door to me, because they're not my competition. And so I'm happy if they ask me for advice or comments or anything. I'm happy to share. So find someone who's more successful than you, copy them. And in fact, there's a famous book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yes,
He
sir.
also talks about not only copying brilliance, but he also talks about the mastermind. So getting into a group with other business people, a small group, 4 to 6, and share your successes and your challenges. And you'd be amazed what you can learn from other businesses that aren't necessarily the same as yours.
Absolutely.
We all have the same issues. They're just different products.
I like that. I like that.
So, find someone who's more successful than you, copy them, and get involved with a mastermind thing. And read. And listen to Marc Adams' podcast, Business SOS.
Oh man, thanks so much. And I have a mastermind. Come on, people. I have a mastermind. I call it Friday Focus Forums. I'd love to have people. But you know what? I'm telling you, if you have one, I want to get in yours because you are dynamic. You're a lot of fun.
Thank you. Amazingly enough, right now I'm not involved with the mastermind group.
Wow. Well, when you start one, I want you to give me a call because I want to be a part of whatever you're doing. That's amazing.
Consider it done.
Let me ask you this question. If you were to go right back to right before you started your business, you bought your first practice, what advice would you have given yourself, or would you give yourself?
I would be listening to my banker and my accountant. Am I looking at very closely at the profit and loss statement? Where's my income coming from? Where's my expenses going to? And paying more attention to that, because I didn't in my first year.
Okay.
I didn't in my first year.
Yeah.
My spending was a little out of control, and I wasn't paying enough to everything else.
That's a good piece of advice. Interestingly, I was just in my mastermind earlier today. We were talking about cash management and the importance of analyzing your finances. I was saying, when money is flowing, like when sales are good, you can operate a bad business.
Yeah.
But you have a little bit of a slowdown, and you'll be shutting your doors. So those are things you want to monitor. It costs money to get the team in place, but it's an investment, not an expense, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And to add one more thing, once you have cash flow that's positive and you got some extra chunk of money, I like the rule of 3s. You take your profit, because you got to live today and plan for tomorrow. So take your profit, take 1/3, pay yourself. Give yourself a bonus. Live a little, because you got to live for today. Take 1/3 and invest in the future. Put some savings away and stuff like that, retirement, whatever it is, and take 1/3 and reinvest in your business.
Nice.
You do those 3 things.
Yeah, you're doing okay. Yeah, I always talk about with my owners, and it's amazing. You can be in business for a long time, and I do, but building those cash reserves. And I was reading a book because I'm cheap normally. My brothers will tell you that I'm the cheapest guy, but there's a reason, because it's not always coming in that well. So, but when you have it, enjoy it. It doesn't make sense to have $18 million in the bank and live in a 12 by 12 room eating tuna. Enjoy it. You have to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So I like that advice as well. It's very important. Cool. So I mentioned that we have a mastermind, and I told you we have a bonus question that we ask our interviewees, and we've touched on it already. So I know you're going to just knock this out the park for me. It's a quote by Robert Kiyosaki. And he said this. He said, making more money will not solve your problems if cash flow management is your problem. How do you think that applies in business?
Well, I think we already discussed it.
We did jump
where are
over
you
it.
spending your money?
Yeah.
And you got to know where the money's going. For example, in dentistry, it doesn't matter what dental practice it is, successful, not so successful. I know what the 4 biggest expenses are, and in dentistry, it's the salaries, It's the dental laboratory expenses when we make crowns and bridges and stuff like that. It's the dental supplies, the materials that we use for fillings and so on and so forth, and rent. Those are the top four things. And rent and salaries are largely fixed. You know what they're going to be every month.
That's
the
right.
other two are a percentage of how much you do. And you should know what they are. And if those four things are out of alignment, the rest doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you're spending on paper products for the office, or what you're spending on your telephone, or even the percent that you're paying the bank for credit card expenses. That's small potatoes. If you don't have the big things, so you should know in your business and use your accountant like Marc. Find out what are the top 3 or 4 expenses and pay close attention to those and the small things.
Wow. It's so interesting. You know what you sound like? A man who's successful in business. I'm serious. Because we were just having this conversation, and I was talking about the importance of monitoring those things. Cost of goods sold, fixed expenses, and the variables. And if you can get that right, if your sales goes up, your cost of goods sold will increase proportionately. If it's disproportionate, we have something wrong somewhere. Let's adjust it. And the same thing, it brilliantly stated. I can't reiterate it enough. Thank you. That was awesome.
Well, if I could, I'd like to tell you 2 stories quickly.
Great.
One is when I took over my practice, when I bought my practice and started it, my dental supplies costs were 10% of my expenses. They should be about 5%. So they were twice what it was.
Wow.
And I went to the sales rep who I was dealing with a full service company. And I said to Wayne, Wayne, my expenses are out of control. And he says, well, I'll cut the price for this product and this product. And a couple of months later, my expenses were 10%. And so a competitor came to me and took me out for dinner, and I thought he was just going to say, oh, buy my products and stuff like that. And instead he took a completely different tact. He said, if I can help make your practice more successful, and if we can keep your expenses in line with exactly where you want them to be and no more than that, would you do business with us?
Wow.
Such an innovative thing. And I said, why would you care about whether I'm more successful or not? And he said, because if you're more successful, you're earning more money. If you're earning more money, you're spending more money on supplies. And if you're spending more money on supplies, I'm more successful.
Your success is my success.
Exactly. And so that's what it did. And they managed to organize everything, and they kept my dental supplies costs at 5% for years. And it never changed. We had it under control with their help, saved me a ton of money. And that money went right to the bottom line. So that was the one story. The other story is unrelated to all of this, but a great takeaway because we're nearing the end here. When you go to a restaurant and you have something that's so delicious, you say, it's so good, it's to die for. Well, I love to eat out. My wife's a gourmet cook, and she's just makes great food, and I do not enjoy being in the kitchen. So when it's my turn to cook, I make a reservation.
Okay.
So we go out a lot. And when our children were young, I mean, they're 19 and 24 now, but when they were young, we would take them with us. And now they're great in restaurants because they've been going to restaurants all their life, and they're really great in there. And we've never gave them stuff to play with. They learned how to behave because they had no choice to learn. We didn't try to distract them. And when my youngest daughter was 5, and we said that expression, oh, it's so good, it's to die for. She said, well, that's stupid. If you're dead, you can't enjoy it. And you should live for it. And that's been our family thing ever since then. Great things are to live for. And so I hope everyone listening will adopt that expression now. It's not to die for, it's to live for.
That's beautiful. Okay. Thank you so much, Doc. I mean, honestly, my arms are so full from all the things I stole from you. I don't know if I can get that in there. I'm going to have to listen to the recording again. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun, Doc. I really enjoyed this conversation. You gave us a lot of gems. I'm going to have to come up with a part 2 just to get you back.
Marc, I appreciate the opportunity, and I would be happy to rejoin you anytime you want. And if anyone wants me to come out and talk to their group or their organization, drlarryspeaks.com or drlarryspeaks.ca, I'd be happy to do so and share more of this. Speaking is an opportunity for me to tell stories, and storytelling is the best way for us to remember the lessons we hear. It's not just about lectures; it's storytelling is the way to go.
Absolutely.
And this is just an opportunity for me to tell stories and to have some fun and make a little money along the way.
And we love it. Thank you so much, Doc. Appreciate it.
You bet.